What I really enjoyed about this film is that it actually prompts an interest for the viewers in the true stories that inspired it. You know, there is a real forest like this that has a very macabre history. For you, can you recall a film that you saw that allowed you to develop an interest in something new?
Oh, that's interesting. Quite a lot of films do that, really, don't they? Especially ones that take a historical place and time, or I think a good movie does make you think about it afterwards. So I couldn't name one off the top of my head. Now I'm struggling wildly.
I can't think in the same vein of the genre, but I remember, I was a kid when I watched The Shining, and then I remember doing a road trip later. I was in my early 20s, and the hotel itself where they shot, and it may have been just the exterior, but driving past it, and it just kind of flooded, it floods your imagination. The story comes back, and I don't know if it's up and running or if it was abandoned, but it just kind of gives you this, like your hair stands up. And I think the same thing goes with this film in the forest and the Aokigahara forest at the base of Mount Fuji. I think, especially if you see the film and then you were to go there, there's an added element of just eeriness that probably would run through you, I would imagine.
I'm never going there.
Yeah.
I'm never going there. But it's interesting that Jess, she is so adventurous in the film. She wants to go to this location. Is there a place in the world that may be considered dangerous that you're interested in going to?
Maybe Transylvania or something like that. Is that Romania?
Yeah, it's Romania.
Actually, because we did a lot of the film in Serbia, we were in Belgrade, then went off into the mountains and filmed the most of the mountains, Serbia for Japan. But I think our first AD, assistant director, had been living in Romania for years, and there's a lot of film comes through the country, and he brought up Transylvania. I said, oh man, I'd love to see that. I would love to go there and see that and see the architecture. So maybe that.
Again, that's interesting that you say. Not specifically. I mean, I like to scuba dive, so it's always a little bit scary if you dive somewhere new and you don't know the location, especially if you night dive. I suppose my equivalent would be sometimes when you scuba dive, you come across wrecks. So maybe a ship that's gone down in the Second World War around, there's a lot of places in Europe and the Mediterranean that you can dive, those ships that have got history because they were torpedoed down. So it's kind of like a bit like sometimes when they're real wrecks, not artificial ones that have been sunk on purpose, then obviously that's a vessel that has, it's a bit like a haunted house underwater. So that they have stories and sometimes people lost their lives. So that can be a bit scary, but it's fascinating to see history like that in front of you underwater.
So it's interesting. So you would be the kind of person, maybe like Sarah, who ventures into an unknown territory like that and doesn't turn back when you see something interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my personality is more, Jess is the adventurous one. Jess is the hell may care kind of one. My personality is probably a bit more like Jess. I think Sarah is going on this mad journey. She descends into this madness specifically because out of love for her sister. She's really the repressed control freak. She's the safe one who wouldn't venture out. She's only venturing because of her love for Jess. So more wild at heart is Jess, who I'm probably a little bit more like.
Interesting. So you would camp out. You're the type of person that finds, camping out in the woods at night.
No, I don't like camping. If that's what you were asking me. I did too much camping as a child and got bitten a lot, which is what happened while we were shooting this movie. A lot of mosquitoes.
Well, I understand that there were a lot of actual creatures in the cave when you actually fell in.
Yeah, I got buried in a lot of spiders and bugs and worms, and I was like, guys, the next time you're burying me in dirt, can we pick the creepy crawlies out a bit more, because stuff was going down the bra. It wasn't good.
Being an actor, you get to travel to all these really interesting places. When you look back on the places you've gotten to shoot things, what really stands out as affecting you?
I shot Zero Dark 30, the film, and we shot in Jordan, which borders, there's great places, but Israel, and so we got to go and we drove across, and it was a whole thing with passports. And if you'd been to other countries, it's it's a bit of an ordeal. But getting to see Jerusalem, Old Jerusalem, and inside, you know, we went on to see like the Wailing Wall, and you see all this history. Went to Tel Aviv, which was beautiful, but those places, the pyramids in Egypt, it's a bit surreal because it's not. I guess I'm a traveler, and I've gotten to travel the world with work, but I'm pretty private and pretty, I guess, domestic for the most part. I like. You know, I love our country. I love the beaches and the mountains. So I hadn't planned on going to Egypt to see the pyramids, but I think when in Rome kind of thing. I was there, and some people would say, "Oh, we should do this," and I said, "Yeah, once in a lifetime." So getting to do those things, you know, I feel really, really blessed and fortunate. Yeah.
Well, for me personally, watching the maggot scene, you know, the maggots crawling out of the wound, that was the most frightening thing. For
Yeah,
me.
it's pretty intense.
Gosh, what for you was something that your character went through that was the most frightening thing for you personally that you would absolutely be terrified of?
Well, I think getting lost, I think going into a forest and your cell phone stops working and you can't get out of it. It's like the real Okagahara forest, you know, people do go in and they don't come out. But sometimes they go in and maybe they want to come out, but they can't. It's this idea of your navigation being completely skewed and you can't leave. That terrifies me.